Come on. Come on. So if you've been around the channel for a while now, you know that I like to pimp stuff, especially the Game Boys. And admittedly, I've done the Game Boy Advance in the past, but it did come to quite a hefty price. I think it came to near like $100 because I got the shells custom made. I made it apocalyptic, got it sent away. But sometimes a lot of you want something a bit more affordable, and I found just that. And it is this. So when I pimp a games console, I get in a lot of stuff, but usually with Game Boys, I get in the shells, new buttons, etc. Sometimes I backlight it, but this here cost me $7. So you can pimp your own Game Boy Advance. I'll show you how to do it in this video for $7. And again, if you know me, I love Pokemon. And here I found on AliExpress or Alibaba, there is a link below, of a custom Venusaur shell for your Game Boy Advance. It comes with all the buttons, it comes with screws, it comes with screwdrivers, even comes with a sticker and the screen as well that comes off. So this really does allow you to pimp it yourself for literally $7. Obviously, you're going to need a Game Boy. I have one here. This is the one Retro 6 sent over. It is backlit as well. So what I'm going to do quite simply is put the Game Boy Advance innards from this one here into my Venusaur shell. Now this shell is not official Nintendo product, it is third party, so it's not going to be the best quality, but from what I can tell, like, it's pretty good. Like, it's pretty good nick, and for $7 I'm quite impressed so far. I haven't put this on yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can do it if you were to pick up just an average shell or even this exact shell. So let's jump in. I'm going to use the screwdriver, so this is going to be like a proper review. Now, I feel quite bad for actually picking this up because I've been following this guy called Game Boy Kingdom on Instagram for a couple of years now. I even reviewed his classic Golden Zelda Game Boy that he does, and he basically custom designs Game Boy shells. But this company, Alibaba or AliExpress, I forgot, has actually basically copied his shell and basically sold it for $7. Now, Game Boy Kingdom, he's very, very talented, but his Game Boy Advance comes to a very hefty price. Now, it makes sense because he has to custom do them, get them printed, laser printed, etc. But sometimes people can't afford that. So if you want the real deal, go to him. But if you want a cheaper version, I'll show you how to do that right now. So let's put all this to the side and let's jump into the Game Boy. So they'll give you a couple of screwdrivers. One which is obviously a triangular one, and then it's the 4-star one. I have no idea what you call them. So the back of your Game Boy Advance is where you're going to start. You're going to need to take out the batteries, obviously, like so. And you'll see 6 screws, 2 up here on the top, 2 just below, 2 at the bottom, and also 1 in here that we're going to need to, which is obviously 7. But the first 6 is quite easy to get out. Now these little screwdrivers are, I'm not gonna lie, pretty terrible. I advise going and picking yourself up one of these. This is what I use for pimping my Game Boys, and it's got all the screws you ever need, and it comes with a nice little grip screwdriver as well. So I advise using them if you're gonna get serious, but I just want to test out to see if these actually work well. Now they're not magnetized. That's going to be annoying, and you need to push down quite hard on them. I'm actually going to flip over to my one because they're quite bad. So yeah, pick up one of these if you've got a spare few quid, because these are really good and they speed up. They just make everything better. It comes in this cool little carrying pouch as well. I think I picked that up for like a tenner. Again, a link below. Try not to lose the screws as well. And these are magnetic as well, so once you're done taking out the screws, they're just on the end of your screwdriver, like so. Now, a lot of people, or some people, think that taking apart a Game Boy Advance is quite tricky. I disagree. It's not. It's only when you start getting into front lighting or backlighting your Game Boy Advance that you might need a hand with. But in terms of taking out the shell, putting in new buttons, giving it a clean, it's pretty easy. And then the last one is here in your battery case as well. Try not to forget this one, because you'll try ripping off the back shell and it will just crack the bottom of your battery pack there, but that's not a major problem, but we want to keep it in good nick. So taking that off, and you're obviously greeted with the innards of your Game Boy Advance there. I'm going to put that to the side. Let's get rid of that. Now this is where it might get, or it might look a little complicated for you, but in reality it's not. You can take off these if you want, which we will need. Actually we won't need, they come with some. Okay, interesting. So you can like mix and match if need be. We're going to take off the triggers as well, like so. Now these are special triggers in the Retro 6 Game Boy Advance. They are special triggers. They're just a bit more, they've got a bit more feedback to them. There is a link below if you want to check out that video. So what I can see here is 2 screws. Sometimes there will be 4, but it looks like Retro. Actually, no, I see 1, 2, 3. So hopefully if we take them out, that should just pop off and then we can get to the screen. So again, same screwdriver. So what I advise actually is go into a car boot or a secondhand game store or even a charity shop. Try finding a Game Boy Advance that works, and if it's got like a dirty shell in that, just do this and then replace the shell and you'll have a nice looking Game Boy Advance. Now if I'm right, this should pop off. Yep, like that. Give it a little lift and then you are greeted with the screen. Now what I do is just flip this over, and sometimes the screen will be stuck down, but I think this one is actually just left in. But if you do have an original Game Boy Advance, it will be stuck in. So what I advise doing if it's stuck, it's not ripping it up, because I've actually broken a screen doing that. It's just getting your shell and twisting it like so, and it will actually just pop off the screen there. So you get all these bits here, but we're going to replace absolutely everything. And actually all I need is this here, and obviously we can take off the buttons. So you take out your buttons here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to get the front shell here, and then we're going to place all the buttons inside, and then I can just flip the screen on. So let's get all the buttons that come with it. Again, this is all third-party stuff, so it might not fit perfectly, but it will fit. So let's chuck this in here. Like that. So you put in your buttons first. Now there will be like little shapes down here, so you know exactly where to put in your A and B buttons. And then you put in your power on button. It should give you some clicky feedback. Like that, and then you put in your start select buttons. Now sometimes you'll see as well down here that there are little holders here. So when you do put in your grips like so, they'll actually clip on to these little holes like so, which lets you know that they're in place and they're not going to slip around. I'm actually kind of impressed at the moment how nicely these third-party buttons in that fit. Don't forget, sometimes when you're on a flat surface you will need to lift it off because the buttons are actually being pressed in like so. Okay. Now I can get on to like the triggers and the side panels here. I completely forgot, because this is a backlit display, it actually needs a bit more space down here. So what I'm actually going to need to do is sand this out. I don't know if you can see this. You probably can, but in here there's no like, this has been sanded just so you can get more space in here, because as you can see this isn't going to fit. I should have knew this before, but you know me, unprepared. So I need to get rid of all of that. So I just went and looked for some sandpaper there, and I have none. And it's midnight here, and there's no way I'm getting it. So I put out a tweet saying I was halfway through, and I realized I had no sandpaper. And DTA Themes got back to me and said, you don't need sandpaper really. It just uses like box cutters or like pliers, and you just rip off the bottom bit here. So you can't see that. If you have an original Game Boy which isn't backlit, you are not gonna need to do what I've done. But if it is backlit, it's a little chunkier screen, so you're gonna need to take out this bottom bit here. So what I did is I actually just kind of like ripped it off, and then I used my trusty screwdriver here to just pick off the loose bits so that the backlit display actually fits in just about right. So I've left in some little plastic bits as well to keep the screen from shaking about in there. So we can carry on now. So back again, I go to the buttons. So let's put in the buttons here. Like so. Big up DTA Themes for letting me know. That's why I love Twitter. You guys just help me out all the time. I should have known that I could have done that, but I completely forgot that I had pliers. So let's chuck in the buttons, the triggers, the side panels, and let's get this thing started. If we're good to go. I'm seeing some overlapping of the silicon thing here. So it's, as mentioned, it's third party, so it's not going to be perfect, but I think we're near enough. So I'm going to flip the screen over like so. That should slot in nicely. Yeah, I'm going to flip this over. Now what I do here is I actually get the, because this is slightly modded, I'm going to get in the bumper triggers at the back in first, slot them in like so underneath. Just give them a little test to see if they work. I'm feeling some feedback, which is good. Now I'm getting a bit of loose action at the top here, but that's because there's no bolts in the top. So what I'm actually going to do is use some of the spare screws from this one. So let's now chuck on the back plate here. Now this is where you'll find the problems if there is any, but you want to be a little rough of it. You want to feel the clinking and clanking. Alright, so what I'm going to do is put in the first screw, which was the little one up here. This is going to go into the battery pack at the bottom here, where we first got it. Now we can start slowly putting in the screws, while at the same time not doing that. So as I mentioned, slowly putting in the screws. Don't fully tighten it though. This is just going to be a little massaging, I call it. I'm going to massage them in, screw them in loosely, and then we can have a look around. Okay, so that's all of the screws tightened up. I'm just going to test all the buttons before I... Yep, seems to be good to me. Right. Let's put on the... I need to obviously clean the screen again because I've been fingering it. Not the right term to say, but you know what I mean. Now this comes with the pack as well, which is really good. Obviously, again, third party. None of it is official, but it looks pretty good from what I'm seeing. Good for $7 anyway. So we're gonna put this on now. I was like, wow, this is really dirty, but obviously it had a screen protector on the front. And that should just drop in. Oh, this is looking cool now. Just gonna push all this down. Fits like a charm. Let's take off the screen protector. Oh, okay. Okie dokie. This is looking good. Now, it's not perfect. You know, the artwork on it is a little off at points, but for $7, I'm impressed. I think it came with a sticker as well. I might be wrong. Yeah, here. Oh, I'm pretty bad at these. Okay. So there's a sticker on there. Not perfect up here because there's a little bulge in the plastic. But, you know, if you wanted to be precise, you could sand that out, then redo the sticker. But it's time for the batteries to go in and see if this baby works. Imagine if this didn't. Yep, look at that. Oh my God. I don't know why I'm so impressed that it worked. Like I just did everything right. But there you have it. Like that is the $7 Game Boy Advance shell that you can pick up and somewhat like pimp your Game Boy Advance. So if you've got a Game Boy Advance at home that's got a tattered shell, you want to make it look a bit better, pick one of these up and you can change it into something really, really cool. And no doubt if these sell well, they'll come out with a load more, possibly the like Charizard and Blastoise versions. I'm digging it. It's a really cool way to spice up your Game Boy collection. Now, again, I keep mentioning it's a third-party shell. It's quite cheap. I was picking off the plastic with these to fit in my backlight, but guys, it works. It's a good-looking shell. Impressive for $7. I can see Alibaba or AliExpress doing a lot more of these anyway. But yeah, there you have it. Just pimped the Game Boy Advance for $7. Not a bad little accessory to pick up if you're into pimping your Game Boy Advances. So there you have it. The budget Pimp My episode today. I hope you enjoy it. If you're into more Pimp My episodes, there is a playlist down below or to the side, or just go on my channel, you'll be able to see it, of just constant pimping of Game Boys. As per usual, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.